We've got a double dose of breaking news here on Steelers Talk. The top story today, though, is that the Pittsburgh Steelers are claiming wide receiver Adam Thielen off of waivers from the Minnesota Vikings. Thielen is on his way to Pittsburgh, and my guess is he will immediately be injected as a starting receiver here in Pittsburgh for the final 5-game stretch of the 2025 NFL season. Now, before I break down this signing, why I kind of think this makes sense and what I think Thielen brings to this Steelers wide receiver room down the stretch, make sure you guys click that subscribe button because whenever Pittsburgh makes a big move, whenever they make a big signing or they cut somebody or whatever the case may be, we're going to make sure to get you guys coverage on that for free on this channel every single time. Of course, the offseason is right around the corner when all the big moves happen, so if you don't want to miss any of that action, click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And we actually called this yesterday, guys, where we had a video where we predicted that Adam Thielen could realistically sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I was saying how I thought that his connection to Aaron Rodgers, the fact that the Steelers have been looking for a number 2 receiver for a while now, all that different stuff just kind of lined up with what Adam Thielen was looking for. So if you guys want to actually see the proof there, we actually put out a video yesterday. So that's why you click that subscribe button, guys, is because we got this right. But Tom Pelissero did put it out there earlier today. He had the report that Adam Thielen is being claimed off of waivers by the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is on his way to Pittsburgh to finish out his career. He's 35 years old, obviously. The 2 things that Thielen wanted, according to Pelissero, was that he wanted a chance to win a Super Bowl, and B, he wanted a place where he could play. All right, and I think, maybe the Super Bowl stuff in Pittsburgh, it's kind of laughable at this point after losing 5 of your last 7 games. But I think at this point, Pittsburgh was probably the best team that, really had an opening for Thielen to actually play this late into the season. So this was his best option. But you guys can take a look at his profile here. Our newest Steelers wide receiver, 35 years old, 6'2", 200 pounds. So bring some good size to the table. He's a big slot technician is what he's been known as throughout his career. He can play outside as well, but he's been known more as a big slot wide receiver that's a savvy route runner. Traditionally, he's had really good hands throughout his NFL career. Not going to give you much in terms of yak, not going to give you much in terms of verticality, but if you're looking for somebody that can make a tough catch over the middle of the field or towards the sideline, if you're looking for somebody that can run a route against man coverage and set guys up and find soft spots in zones and be just a consummate professional, Adam Thielen can be your guy. And Pittsburgh actually showed interest in Thielen at the trade deadline last year in 2024. The Panthers wanted like a 4th-round pick in exchange for him. That was a little bit too rich for a then 34-year-old Adam Thielen, but now you get him off of waivers here without having to give up any draft capital. And clearly, the Steelers have had Adam Thielen, on their eye here for a couple of years now. Now, my scouting report on Thielen, guys, is that he's not going to move the needle too much. All right, at this point, you're not going to find anybody on the waiver wire that is going to move the needle. And Thielen wasn't playing a whole lot in Minnesota. He's really lost all of the juice that he ever had athletically, and honestly, he came into the league as a kind of unremarkable athlete. It's one of the reasons why he went undrafted, but he brings really good size, run blocking, route running savvy, and then also traditionally good hands, but he did have some drop issues in Minnesota this year, so that is something to keep your eye on. But I do think that he injects right into the starting lineup. Now, it'll be interesting to see if Roman Wilson or Calvin Austin III maintains their quote-unquote starting spot in this Steelers offense. I would guess it's Roman Wilson because he can be a more long-term option for the Steelers, and they want to kind of see what he's got. Calvin's on the final year of his deal, and he's likely going to be going elsewhere next season. I think the Steelers are going to let him walk. So I think we'll see DK Metcalf, Adam Thielen, and Roman Wilson be the top 3 receivers in terms of the snap share for the rest of the season. And I would expect Thielen to get a pretty healthy workload as early as this week versus the Baltimore Ravens with so little time left in the season. I think they're going to want to ramp up Thielen as soon as they can. But just to take a look at what he did in Minnesota this year, he played while Jordan Addison was dealing with his suspension through the first 3 weeks of the year, and then they kind of took him out of the starting lineup. So he only has 18 targets on the year for just 8 catches. He had some drops, doesn't have a touchdown, just 69 yards on the season. So, this is certainly somebody that, I understand why people would say he's cooked, he's completely washed, and there's a very decent possibility that is exactly what Adam Thielen is at this point. But, you take a look at his numbers just last year in Carolina, had over 600 yards receiving. And then, obviously before that in 2023 had over 1,000. So, he's not that far removed from putting up, 1,000 yards in his age 33 season. Still, pretty darn good route runner. If he can get those hands that he's been known for throughout his career back here in Pittsburgh, if, maybe J.J. McCarthy just doesn't throw a catchable football, maybe Aaron Rodgers, we'll get something going here for Adam Thielen here in Pittsburgh. But at the end of the day, guys, this really shouldn't move the needle all that much. The Steelers still need to find a way to throw the ball down the field more efficiently. Adam Thielen's not going to help you do that. He's not going to separate, down the field necessarily. He's not going to get a bunch of yak after the catch or anything like that. Like, he does bring a skill set that the Steelers didn't have previously as kind of a big body route runner that traditionally has good hands. We'll see if those hands actually show up here in Pittsburgh. But at this point in the season, guys, why not? We were not getting enough production out of Calvin Austin III and Roman Wilson, and this has been the type of receiver the Steelers have had their eye on for quite some time. Obviously, this is a far reduced version of like the style of wide receiver we could have potentially gotten in Jacoby Myers, but still the style of receiver that the Steelers were looking for, so at least there's that. So sound off for me down there in the comment section. Grade the signing of Adam Thielen for me down there in the comment section. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. For me, I'm going to give it like a B-. Like, I don't think it's a worthless signing. I think there's a chance Thielen could be a decent contributor for the Pittsburgh Steelers down the stretch here, and he does provide something to this wide receiver room that they didn't have previously, but he is 35 years old. He hasn't played very well this year when he was in Minnesota on all those different things. So I'll give it a B-. Let me know your grade down there in the comment section for today's pin question. Just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Prize Picks, and while I tell you about Prize Picks, give me your grade for the Adam Thielen signing. Now let's have word from our sponsor today here at Prize Picks, and it is officially the holiday season, and in my opinion, this is the best time of the year for watching sports. Bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes for both collegiate and professional football. It's all happening at once, and while all that action is going on, there's one place where it feels good to be right, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is super simple to play. Just pick more than or less than on at least 2 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. My favorite feature about Prize Picks is that how you play is up to you. If you want a little bit more flexibility, you can choose the flex play where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if I'm feeling really strong about a particular lineup and you want a bigger payout, you can go for the power play. But no matter how you play, though, Prize Picks is a great way to put your takes to the test and make some money. That is, if you know ball. So for this weekend's matchup against the Baltimore Ravens, I'm taking the less on passing yards for Aaron Rodgers, the more on rushing yards for Derrick Henry, and the more on rush yards for Jaylen Warren. You guys can download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup on the Prize Picks app today. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Now, the other bit of breaking news that we got here today is that the Pittsburgh Steelers and Darius Slay have agreed mutually to part ways after a lackluster season for Slay here in Pittsburgh. James Pierre was out playing Slay, and then, of course, Asante Samuel Jr. bringing him in, and now that he's been fully ramped up, there's just not a whole lot of space for Slay to actually play in the Steelers' defense here, and kind of like Thielen, Slay is a player that has already said this is the final year of his NFL career, and he doesn't want to spend the rest of his career on the bench. He wants to go somewhere where he can play, so I'm guessing he asked for his release from Pittsburgh. This is what Adam Schefter reported earlier today. Steelers and cornerback Darius Slay have mutually agreed to part ways. Slay's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, and Robert Bailey told ESPN Slay is interested in continuing to play and will consider signing with other teams, but his time in Pittsburgh has come to an end. And this is another one, guys, that we predicted over or just about a month ago. On November 11th, I posted this on X where I said that I thought that Darius Slay could potentially ask for his release from the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was right after the Steelers signed Asante Samuel Jr. And the other part of that prediction is I said I think Darius Slay will go play for the Philadelphia Eagles. Would not shock me if even by the time this video comes out, Darius Slay and his representation have already come to terms with the Philadelphia Philadelphia Eagles. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Slay down here, but we've been kind of on a roll here on Steelers Talk, and that's exactly why you guys click that subscribe button, because we give you guys the scoop before it actually happens. What this means to me, guys, is that it's yet another bad cornerback signing in the offseason for Pittsburgh. Like, Pittsburgh was very clear. They thought they were getting a star-level cornerback with Darius Slay when they brought him in this offseason. They thought he was going to be able to man people up one-on-one, and that just goes to show you, kind of the downfall, of the evaluation of these cornerbacks from someone like Mike Tomlin, who definitely drove the ship in terms of bringing in a guy like Darius Slay this season. He was in charge of bringing in Patrick Peterson, right? It seems like this Steelers team in the offseason brings in these older players for who they used to be and not the players that they are now. I mean, we can look at Jalen Ramsey, for example, in that regard. I mean, they tried putting him one-on-one in man coverage versus Jamar Chase earlier this season. He hasn't been a true number one, lockdown man-to-man corner in many seasons at this point. So this Steelers team, and specifically Mike Tomlin, brings in these DBs kind of thinking he's going to get, the 25-year-old version of these players, and it's just not the case. And it's just unfortunate, and it's yet another failure there. But the good news is you did bring in Asante Samuel Jr. this season, and the fact that Asante Samuel Jr. and Adam Thielen both chose to come to Pittsburgh, right? These have been some of the higher profile names in free agency this year. They have decided to come to Pittsburgh this year, and now Asante Samuel Jr. has officially been signed to the active roster in a corresponding move with Darius Slay being released. And with James Pierre on the mend from a concussion, he's currently in concussion protocol. I would guess that means Asante Samuel Jr. Is going to get the starting nod versus the Baltimore Ravens this weekend. And with Joey Porter Jr. likely to be guarding the bigger and more physical DeAndre Hopkins, that would mean Asante Samuel Jr.'s first start in a Steelers uniform, guard Zay Flowers. That's going to be a hell of a matchup right there and a hell of a test for this young prospective future starting cornerback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But predict it for me down there in the comments section. What do you think is going to happen with Asante Samuel Jr. in future seasons when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers? Will Asante Samuel Jr. be a starting corner for the Pittsburgh Steelers next season? Simply give me a yes or a no down there in the comments section. Again, he's only on a 1-year contract here in Pittsburgh. He's going to be a free agent next year. Do you think that he ends up getting brought back next year? Give me a yes or a no for your answer down there in the comments section. And that'll be it for our double dose of breaking news here on Steelers Talk. If you guys want more breaking news coverage all throughout the 2025 season and into the 2026 offseason, when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is the place that you guys need to be subscribed to. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Till next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.